Welcome to the Weekend Warriors podcast. I'm your host, In-Ting. This week we're going to do things a little differently. There isn't going to be as much score recapping or schedules for this coming weekend. All that you can find on our Facebook page at Weekend Warriors Podcast. I've been sick for a couple of weeks, but we're back. We are back and we are running. So there's going to be two things we're going to focus on this week. First, women's soccer. Holy moly. What a season they've been having. And as well, swimming, who have an alumni meet coming up on Saturday, as well as a biathlon against Guelph and U of T. So to start things off, we're going to talk about this alumni meet that's going on with the swim team. Sat down with Mitchell Krafczek and Josie Andres, captains of the men's and women's swim teams here at the University of Waterloo, to talk about what this meet is about, what the biathlon's about, how swimming races work, how swimming meets work, and just a lot of stuff that you may not have followed that closely before in terms of youth sports swimming. So I'm here with Mitchell Krafczek and Josie Andres from the swim team. They're competing in biathlon tri-meet against Guelph and Toronto on Saturday, but there's also a very important event that they're also hosting. Josie and Mitchell, why don't you explain to us what's going on Saturday at 1 p.m.?
So after the biathlon is the Alumni Meet. So people that have graduated from the University of Waterloo and participated on the swim team are coming back this weekend to meet the new team, and we're gonna do some racing against them to see if they can still beat us.
Yeah, and also this year we're celebrating actually 50 years of the pool being open, and we're also celebrating the 40 years of the women's championship team winning CIs. So there's going to be a lot of people coming back this year for the racing and to come watch.
So what are some great traditions you guys have with this alumni meet in terms of the race or in terms of the things you do on that day?
I'll go first. There's a lot of... The racing is really important because that's kind of one of the traditions. Because the alumni like to set up their own events and race their own thing, but then the current swim team has to follow their rules, so they cheat a lot. That's one of the things I find that is carried on throughout every single event.
Yeah, we all still have, like, even the people that graduate, like, still have that competitive edge, so they just want to come back and see if they can give us a run for our money. Yeah,
It's so nice to see people that you've swam with before, because I'm in my 5th year now, and throughout my 5 years, there's been 4 other graduating classes, right? So it's really nice to see everyone, and then it's also really cool to meet a lot of alumni that have been here before.
Mm-hmm. Some of them still have pool records too, so we get to put a face to those names up there that we're trying to take down.
So what are tell the names with the records on the wall who are you guys are expecting to come to this alumni meet?
I would say there's a few that we're expecting to come back. So there's Evan Deeks, Greg Gambino,
Graham Kemp,
Bronwyn Kemp. They're the recent graduates. I'm not sure who's coming back from the older graduates. I could probably check. Yeah, so there's a bunch coming back. There's over 100 coming back, I'm pretty sure. So it'd be for the 50 years of the pool and everything. So it's a pretty big event this year.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So after the racing, obviously, is it after the racing you do the biathlon, or after the biathlon you do the alumni meet?
So we do the biathlon first.
Yeah, so we run, and then we have our swim meet against Toronto and Guelph, and then we have our alumni meet against the alumni, and then we have our little like meet and greet. So like some of the younger swimmers that don't know any of the graduates get to meet them and pass on some wisdom the other way. Yeah.
Cool. And so this biathlon is technically your second meet of the season after the duel earlier, was it?
So this is our first swim meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since it's your first swim meet, what are you looking for in this biathlon to basically gauge the season? Like, are you using it to gauge the season, or are you using it to kind of just as a tune-up for getting serious?
I would say it's a really good marker right now to see where we are coming into the new season because Jeff has moved to Bahamas. Now we have a new coach, Jackie. So it's a good marker right now with the transition and everything, but also we have it feels like we have a really strong team right now. So we can really compete against Guelph, whereas in the past it was little hit and miss, but I think we're pretty strong against Guelph this year. And then also, it's always nice to race some Olympic swimmers like Kylie Mass and race against the Olympians of UFT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing, like just like a marker of fitness, just to also see how the rookies are adapting. And we haven't seen any of them compete yet either, so it'll be a good test.
Terms for the rest of the season, this is always a really fun meet because there's a running portion before. All other swim meets don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned this transition from Jeff Slater to Jackie. How's that transition been so far for you guys?
So far it's been really good. I think the big thing is everyone's really committed to it and everyone's really accepting and everything. After 4 years of having Jeff, obviously it's a little sad to see him go, but at the same time, Jackie's helped a lot and came right in and really picked up where it needed to be. And I think it's really helped with where Jeff left it. He left it so someone could come in and really help out. And she's done a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has some fresh ideas too, so it's good to change things up for some of us that have been here for a while.
So it's good. It's a good change, I feel.
And so I guess this goes right into the next bit about, obviously you mentioned the Olympians of U of T. They're a rather intense competition, to say the least. And there's obviously, once you go into nationals, you want to meet the other Olympians from the other coast of the country. Basically, what strengths do you guys particularly bring? Like, do you kind of think of strengths in terms of different types of races you guys are really good at? Do you kind of think in terms of who your, Jonathan Ramkissoons are? Or do you kind of, how do you really approach these meets knowing that you're bringing your best, they're bringing their best, and you're also playing to your strengths?
Yeah, we really get behind our top swimmers. We expect John to perform well, but everyone knows
Josie
about him.
as well.
Thanks. But we also have some rookies that are going to be very fast this season, and they'll be a little bit of a surprise for the other teams because they don't know who we got.
Coming in, I think we're kind of the underdog right now, the sleeper right now. And I think that we do have a good opportunity, and it's been set up well. Everything's in a good place. We have a lot of really quick first years coming in, and everyone needs to help everyone get through it because, especially I know in my first year, at the end of the season, I was like, maybe I could have gone a little bit faster. So having the upper years with the experience and pushing, I think, is really good. The raw talent is there. You just need someone to help them through it.
And Jackie's obviously been a great person for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jackie's all about family, just like Jeff was, and she's like, if anyone needs help or anything, call me, because it is a big change for some people. We have there's a guy from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, there's people from BC, so they need a parental figure pretty much while they're here. So Jackie's really helped out with that as well.
Cool. So since this is kind of your first foray on this channel, so to speak, most people know how to watch a swimming race.
Yes.
Whoever wins, wins. how do you follow a meet? How does the point system work for people who've never followed a meet before?
The point system depends on which meet we're at. They all run a little bit differently, but basically, like, 1st through 8th are pretty much guaranteed points at most meets, and then obviously first place would get the most points, and then go down from there. And then relays are where the teams make the biggest jump in points. It's double. So if first place for an individual race is 20 for that meet, then for a relay it would be 40.
Yeah. So it's a little different at our swim meet as well, because dual meets and tri meets are
Just the
ranked.
2 and 3 teams?
Yeah, well, they're ranked head to head, so it'd be us versus Guelph. So in the pool, if we come 1st and 3rd, they combine those points, and then if Guelph comes 5th and 6th, it's comparing our 2 places versus their 2 places. So it doesn't matter that there was someone in 2nd and 4th in between. It's compared a little bit differently. So there's, so for example, if we come 2nd and 3rd, and they come 1st and 4th.
In an individual race, we're talking
Yes,
about.
in an individual race. 1st is worth 10 points. 2nd is worth 8, but then 3rd is worth 6, but then 4th could be worth 4. So we could be tied for the amount of points we win in that event. So the scoring is dependent on who you're comparing against who, is to make it easy.
And so sometimes I see in the standings there's at least half points. So how do you get half points?
Tie.
If you tie, yeah.
Is
So-
it really common for...
Depending on the races, at our swim meet, it'll probably be a lot more common just because they're shorter events. The longer events, you'll have a lot less tying.
Yeah, because all of our races go to the hundredths of a second, so it's not that common, but, like, again, the shorter the race, the smaller the gap is for everyone's times in that race.
Yeah. Especially an event like for 50 freestyle, you'll have a lot of people tying just because you have 20 seconds for 80 people to touch the wall. So you run out of area that you can...
Not tie.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess to finish off, where can people watch this alumni meet, and where can they watch you guys compete in biathlon against Guelph and Toronto?
So we're at the Pack Pool, so on campus, and yeah, we're just coming up to the stands at Blue North.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
The meet starts at 11 o'clock. 11
Swimming
a.m.,
portion.
The swimming portion of it. The running portion starts at 10, but we're looking more for people to come out at 11 than 10, just because that's when the races start. for the most part.
Cool. Well, that was Mitchell Krafczek and Josie Andres from the swim team. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks.
And now to our second half of this episode, women's soccer. In case people forgot, last year they were second last in their conference. 8 whole points in 16 games. They were close, but let's be real, they weren't even close to a playoff spot last year. But this year, they are roaring. They are basically coming out of nowhere to be in the top 4 of their OUA division right now. It's funny because earlier this term, I sat down with Ison Osmonsoy, who actually told me 2016, yeah, that's a thing of the past. Better watch out for us Waterloo Warriors coming up this season. And in fact, here's an excerpt from that episode.
So yeah, we're coming. We're gunning for that playoff spot. I think a big thing for us right now is learning how to finish teams. We are great on defensive scale, and we're great when it comes to pushing other teams and keeping it maybe at a tie. But our biggest fault last year was conceding goals in the 80th, 85th, 90th minute, 90 plus minute. So this year we're really working on scoring, finishing the ball, putting it in the back of the net, and hopefully actually coming out with 3 points rather than, the measly 1 point or even coming out with a loss.
And throughout the season so far, women's soccer has produced four 4 athletes of the week. That's unheard of for a single team. Started off with Danielle Erb, who scored 2 goals in 2 games in her first ever weekend with the Waterloo Warriors. Then we went to Ison Osmonsoy, and then we went to Stephanie Penta, who scored 4 goals in a weekend against Algoma, that doubleheader up in Sault Ste. Marie. And this just past weekend, Maddie McDonald, midfielder turned goalkeeper, basically shut the door, and now the Warriors are 4-1-4 and putting the rest of the OUA on notice. So I sat down this week with Kira Dunn, one of their second-year players, on basically what's been going on, what's been in their water, so to speak, that's making them just play out of their minds. So I'm here with Kira Dunn, second-year soccer player from the women's soccer team. How are you doing? How's stuff going for you now that it's kind of midterm season?
It's good. Got my first 2 next week, so things are starting to ramp up a bit and co-op and everything. So.
Well, speaking of ramping up a bit, we're deep into the soccer season, and all of a sudden, these second to last place Waterloo Warriors from last year are doing really, really well. 4 wins, 1 loss, 4 draws, and they are deep in the thick of contending for an OUA playoff spot. What's been the big turnaround here, Kira?
Where to start? Well, it's only my second year here, so going from a transition from, like you said, being second to last year to being, I think, third now is huge. I think our biggest change this year was probably bringing in really good rookies. John did a lot of work in the off season behind the scenes to recruit players and, talk about our program and just really get younger players interested and tell them, how we're building our program, and that brought a lot of girls in, and I think it's just strengthened the team a lot.
Speaking of strengthening the team, you guys have had 4 athletes of the week this term so far.
Yeah.
For women's soccer, that's basically unheard of.
Yeah.
Because not only were you just second to last, you guys don't really score a lot, so the chances aren't really there for you to be athletes of the week, but you guys were recording 4. Stephanie Penta, Danielle Erb, Maddie McDonald, Ison Osmonsoy. What's been going on?
It's pretty crazy, to be honest. Every time a girl on the team gets it, we freak out, and we're so happy for each other when we get it. Danielle, I think she was the first one, and that was like her first game, it was her first year, and she scored a clutch goal against Laurier in the last minute, so, how could you not give it to her? And then Ison, she's always a key player for us. Steph scored 4 goals in 1 game against Algoma, and Maddie was the other one. Maddie's been amazing back there. So I think, everyone just supports each other so much, and we really, we bring each other up. We want everyone else to succeed. So, I think everyone's just really into it. Everyone really wants to win.
So speaking of Maddie, going back, she's the most recent athlete of the week.
Yeah.
This is her first year playing goalie, isn't it?
She actually started as a goalie.
Okay.
In her first year, and then I'm not sure what she did in her second year, but I don't think she got to play very much because our starting keeper was really good. And then last year, my first year, I played in the midfield with her, and then she transitioned back to goalie this year. But I think throughout her rep career and everything growing up, she was always a keeper. So I'm not really sure what happened last year, why she ended up playing out, but she did a great job. But we love having her back there. She knows the game, and she can kind of control us from the back, and she's strong in net, so we're happy to have her in the net.
I was going to say, transitioning back from midfield to goal, she really hasn't lost a step very much.
Not at all.
So, about you, Kira, in 8 games, not even exactly at the halfway point of the season, you've already hit your career high of 3 goals. Explain to me this whole surge of scoring that you've been experiencing.
I don't know where it's coming from, to be honest. We haven't even been scoring, I think, that many goals. Like, all of our games have been kind of 1 or 2, but I don't know, I scored 1 against Windsor and 1 against Guelph, and those were the 2 1-0 games that we won. So I don't really know why I've been scoring more, but it feels great. But I think all comes back to having a better team as well. You know, we're getting more chances on net than we had last year, and more opportunities for us to capitalize like that. So, you know, of course, if I didn't get the assists from my teammates, I wouldn't be getting the goals. But I think just really wanting to win and really wanting to, you know, prove ourselves to these other teams, you know, it just makes scoring that much better.
And it's funny because earlier in the year, I was talking to Addison, and she was mentioning that this is kind of the next step you guys wanted to take to prove to these other teams that you guys really are here to play, here to compete for playoffs, are here to basically prove people wrong.
Yeah, definitely. You know, coming off the last few years, you know, I only had one other year of experience, but, you know, I've heard, obviously, we've been kind of at the bottom of the table, lots of goals against, not very many wins. So it's kind of the case of, you know, we know people come into the games against us thinking, oh, it's just Waterloo, you know, maybe we won't play all our starters.
Like easy 3 points kind of thing.
Exactly. So we've kind of had that competitive edge to us this year, you know, mentally going into these games. The opposition isn't thinking much of us, but we kind of have one up on them, I guess, in that way. But yeah, definitely wanting to prove ourselves. You know, we want to obviously represent the university well as well. But yeah, definitely proving other teams wrong. And I think now that we've played everyone once and everyone's kind of seeing how we are now, you know, we're in third place, everyone's kind of saying, whoa, you know, we need to take these guys seriously. And that feels really good.
Yeah. And I think that kind of transitions well to my next and I guess final question. You guys went into your first 8 games playing everybody, and everyone's kind of like, whoa, Waterloo's all of a sudden really good. Mm-hmm. How are you going to take this competitive edge that you had at the beginning of the season to prove people wrong? You've proved them wrong essentially in the first half.
Yeah.
How do you carry that momentum when everyone now has the book on you into the last 8 games?
Yeah.
And onto like the full playoff stretch, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually been thinking about that myself. Tonight, actually, instead of practice, we're having a video review session. So what we do is the girls who are injured right now, we've been recording all of our games, and then our coach uploads them to this website, and we have a chance to watch them afterwards. So having that is definitely a great asset to, you know, look back at the mistakes we made. How can we fix them, and then also to kind of look at how the other teams play against us, and then we can adjust how we're going to play to them. So it'll definitely be harder. You know, we won't have that element of surprise, and yes, they're going to have the books on us, but, you know, we also have that on them. So, you know, they're probably going to make adjustments, but so are we, and hopefully we can just keep up the momentum and hopefully make playoffs.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. That was Kira Dunn. And they got 8 games to go. Everything's on gowarriorsgo.ca. If you want to check out their awesome stats and Kira's 3 goals so far, they're all on the oua.ca website. And you can check out all the other teams and see who else they're facing and basically where they stand in the OUA standings. So, thanks, Kira.
Thanks for having me.
And that concludes this week's episode of the Weekend Warriors podcast. For all your stats and info and schedules on your favorite Warriors teams, visit gowarriorsgo.ca. I'm In-Ting Ho, signing off.